Hey there, I'm Elisabeth Ness, the creator of Emma and the Squares. Way back in March of 2020, my partner and I fell ill with COVID. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. While we recuperated from it, we watched as many Christopher Guest movies and series as we possibly could. And I was so inspired by the amazing ensembles of hilarious improv actors that Guest was able to play around with in each project. And the more I learned about his process, the more I realized that even though we were in lockdown, we might have exactly the right skill sets and meager resources at our disposal, which were essentially just the virtual platform Zoom, to be able to take a similar improv-based ensemble cast approach to creating content. Meanwhile, there was so much I wanted to say creatively about the pandemic. Those first few months, we were all grappling with so many issues and encountering so many new events and experiences, all in the midst of anxiety and isolation. Like so many of us, I was attending a ton of Zoom birthday parties, and at every single one, there were memorable people, absurd moments, and that weird sense of sort of being together when in reality, with one push of a button, you could just be thrust back into your real world of being alone. The cherry on top was that the last show I saw before the lockdown happened to be Sondheim's musical Company, a show about a single person surrounded by couples, and it delves into the concept of companionship. So given that disjointed isolation versus connection feeling we were experiencing during the quarantine, I couldn't get it out of my head because the subject matter felt so apropos. So we set about making a film using Christopher Guest's approach of me creating an outline, crafting the characters with the actors, improvising based on the outline during the shoot, and then editing it the way we might get when we get footage for a documentary that my partner and I make together. And that allows us to just let the characters surprise us and tell us what jokes to keep and discard. But then we discovered something unfortunate. One can't really film a large group scene on Zoom particularly well if it's improvised, because it's nearly impossible to have enough cameras to catch everyone singly. And without that, it's difficult to make edits or determine what reactions you want the viewer to see or what jokes to keep. So we had to separately film all the Zoom boxes that interacted with my character and then edit them all together in post so that it would look like we had shot an actual group Zoom in real time with everyone present for the whole conversation. Unfortunately, or fortunately, our actors were making such amazing, hysterical improv choices that it ended up being really, really difficult to cut down the running time. In fact, this project that I had thought would just be a quick 10-minute film experiment that would take me a month, maybe 2 max, ended up taking 15 months to edit, as well as the help of numerous generous people that I could get outside feedback from and not create in a vacuum. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty frustrating at times to feel like the world was moving on and I was still alone in my edit bay, editing a project that I'd shot a whole year earlier on a platform that felt new at the time, but we were old hat at now. When I reach out to cast members to let them know where I was at in the edit process, they'd respond, "Oh, wow, oh, I didn't know you were still working on that." But there were a few things that kept me going. First and foremost, I really wanted to make people laugh. Especially during such a difficult time as this has been, I wanted to make it so that people could see themselves and their experiences reflected on screen. Also, I wanted to do right by my cast. They'd taken the time out of their lives to focus on this experiment with me, and I wanted to make sure they could see how amazing they were through my eyes. And finally, I was making this at a time when 99% of the theater industry was completely unemployed. So many of my friends and colleagues were trying to figure out how to express themselves creatively during this time, wondering whether there would be any way to do artistic projects ever again. So I was really hoping that I could show that if you pull together talented people who are willing to run with a vision and make risky choices, and you play in the sandbox together, you can create content on no budget with only the resources at hand, even when you're in lockdown and not able to see anyone. Plus, as I said at the beginning, from when I talked about us getting sick, laughter really is the best medicine, and our world needs it right now. So thank you for watching this interview, and I hope you enjoy Emma and the Squares.
That's a good porpoise.